Hey YouTube, Steven here again. Got a couple of projects today on the Dakota here behind me. 04 Dakota, it's a truck that Tracey drives. Okay, first issue, you can see all of the brake dust on those on that wheel. You look through there. Oh yeah, I think we can see it actually. It's starting to grind about upper half of the rotor. So I got to get in there and do that. Second issue with this old bugger is more of a comfort issue. The blower motor is only blowing on high, so probably blower resistor. These ones tend to usually the wires fry out, so you end up having to replace the harness. So I'm going to get in there and take a closer look at that. So here's the blower control. I have the key on. Obviously, it's dinging at me. You can see at 0. I don't know if we're going to be able to hear this. That should be picking up through the audio. It goes right to nothing. So that needs to be fixed. Here we are under the dash of the Dakota. Kind of hard to see, but that's the blower resistor and the blower resistor harness. So I'm gonna pop that little locking tab, the little red locking tab there, and get that out of there. Here's the connector. You can see a little bit that it's burnt a touch inside there. So the connector may be in better shape than I did the same thing on my Durango, and the connector was in a lot worse shape, so hopefully I'll get away with just doing the resistor. Here's the resistor out of the truck, out of its little compartment inside the heater box. Focus in there. You can see greened out terminals in there. A couple of them, there it is, a little better, a little greened out, munged up as it were. It's just a solid state piece. So I'm gonna have to get a new one, throw it in there, we should have it back. That simple. Two little screws, 8mm or 5/16 heads, whichever you use. Simple, pretty easy to get to. This one's very easy to get to. It's, like I said, right up under the dash there, where you saw it, just right up under the passenger side dash. Very, very simple to get to. This is probably one of the easiest ones on the market. Alright, here's what I got. A couple of cans of brake clean, brake pads, brake rollers. That's what we're going to put on. Blower resistor had to be ordered. It'll be in later today. And again, that's just 2 screws, very quick, so shouldn't be an issue. Alright, let's get her set up. Okay, let's move over here. Start on this side, passenger side. Why? I don't know. Just because, okay? Just because. closer. Let's move over here. I'm gonna get a little bit better look at this caliper. Let's show how I do things. Got to pry back the pistons on the caliper, obviously, because, well, not obviously, maybe it's not obvious, but pry them back so that A, we can get the caliper off, and B, the new pads will fit, because the wear, again, I just gotta stop saying obviously, as the pads wear and the pistons come out and stay out, the gap is smaller, so we have to open that up. Now, this truck does not have front wheel anti-lock brakes, which means it only has rear wheel anti-lock brakes, and you can get away with pushing the fluid back through the system by just prying this. On some vehicles I used to run into, being in the industry, mainly GMs in like the late 80s, early 90s, if you would push these back and push the fluid back through the brake, the anti-lock brake motor, sometimes it could ruin that motor, and then that's a few $1,000, a couple $1,000, whatever it costs comes out to repair. Where if you open the bleeder screw on the caliper and push the fluid out of the caliper, you don't push it back in the system. So I think what I will do on this one is I will open the bleeder. It looks very clean. It should open fairly easily. Okay, I have this bleeder wrench. You obviously don't need to have the bleeder wrench to do the job. It does make it quite a bit easier for the torque. Let me grab a can. Catch this fluid. What's up? Main thing is don't break it off. So you don't, oh, very easily. That's nice. That's a nice one. So definitely make it easier on me myself by pulling it open like this. Going pretty well already. There we go. And that's why that ground just out there, those calipers got a little, the caliper got a little sticky. All the way back, let it bleed, let it gravity bleed here a touch. All the air stops popping out of there. You want a good solid stream of fluid so you have no air in your caliper. That's going to cause you a major headache when you do your brakes and you say, why do I have a super spongy pedal? Or why does my pedal go to the floor from a pump? Or two, air. Air is the enemy. Pop open the hood and open the bleeder. Of course, just as I say it, comes through. Okay, that's good though. Now we have a solid stream of fluid. No air. We'll tap it a little bit. Helps the air, any trapped air, work out of there. Now what I'm going to do, give it a little blast of brake fluid while we're here. Brake clean. To clean all that fluid out of there. Just starting with a clean surface. Everything clean. All right, grab a few more tools and come back. Okay. 15 millimeter, it looks like up here. Or is it a 13? Oh, it's a 13. Well, good job. All right, right back again, I guess. All right, now, do you need impact guns, air compressors, fancy swivel tools, all that stuff to do the brakes? No, of course not. I could show you with wrenches, but I'm not going to, because I have this stuff and I'm lazy. And I grabbed the wrong size again. It looks like to be a 14. So, yeah, good eyes lately. I'll be back again. All right. One more time. Let's get this off finally. So yes, all this could be done with wrenches or a ratchet, a socket, you know, easily. But again, I have the tools. I'm used to using the tools, so I'm going to use the tools that make my life easier. So that was a 14 millimeter head on the bolts that held the caliper to the caliper bracket. And there's our grind. Let me make sure that that's decent. Yeah, there it is. We still got a little pad left. It was just hitting on the edge. And the inner pad is nearly as bad. So it's not like it was a total failure on some part. It's going a little angle, which that one piston might have been hanging off a little. Hopefully that'll loosen up. If not, I'll have to change calipers sometime. That's all right. I can do that later. Now, this inside, the bolts holding the caliper bracket are a 21 millimeter. I have that on the big gun. That happen to be the same as what I have on the lug nuts. So that makes it a little easier. Okay. A little battle there for space. Caliper bracket. Now, one of the number one things that I believe causes brake failure and issues when people do their own brakes is cleaning not just these surfaces of this stainless steel spacer, but underneath. Rust builds up under here, pushes the spacer up, your pad sees up in the bracket. So we'll go over that. I'll just clean them with a file, because it's just as easy to get a file in there as it is any power tool, and it's quick. It just knocks the stuff off real quick. So I'm gonna pop these little spacers out of here and a pair of side cutters. All right, for the side cuts, and let me go to this side a little bit. Oops, sorry about that. Probably get all dizzy. There's a little spacer right here. Basically, they put those on there at the factory just to hold the rotor to the wheel bearing during assembly process at the factory. So I know these rotors were never off or replaced because they're still on there. Nobody puts them back on afterwards or gets new ones or anything like that. Wow, this one's being a bugger. But I know this truck had at least one set of pads on it because it's got 200,000 miles on it. All right, that looks pretty nice under there. That looks good and clean, that surface. A lot of times this surface here just has built up rust on it that can push your rotor out, and that gives you issues with pulsation in the brakes. Rotors aren't sitting flush, flat. got a build up on one side, and it's going to pulse as it starts to spin. So those look really nice and clean. I'm not worried about that. So what I'm going to do is we'll take it inside to clean up that bracket and pull the parts apart and show a little bit about what I like to do there to prep my parts. Alright, inside here in the garage, first thing I want to do is make sure they look the same, and they do look the same. Good first check off the list. Making sure you have the right pads before you take everything totally apart. Which I didn't. I already took it apart, so I was in trouble anyway. But okay, what I'm going to do here, move these over, because we've got to still check those. Let's check that those are the same. And what I like to do is I'm going to spray these with some disc brake quiet or anti-squeak or whatever else they call it. So I'm going to grab that. I'll be right back. All right, this is disc brake quiet. Do not spray it on the side that goes against the rotors. Big mistake. But I've seen it. I've had vehicles come in, DIY brake job. I did everything right. I even sprayed disc brake quiet all over the pads, both sides. So it happens. Basically, I just spray the back. And what this does is it kind of helps the pad stick to the caliper on the inside pad, the caliper pistons, and on the outside the caliper bracket. And it just kind of stops rattling. It'll stop it from rattling if you put that on there. And I like to put it on now before I'm setting everything up so that it has time to set up enough, it doesn't run, and everything sticks well. And it's, fairly dry. Let's move over there a little bit. We'll pop these rotors open and we'll match it up with the other one. I didn't bring the other one in. I should have brought one in. Well, it's got 6 holes, which is for studs, which is good. It's got 6 lug system. That's a good start, first step. I'm going to run this out and just stick it on, make sure it fits. Alright, that looks to fit well. A few things I checked. I checked the diameter against the other rotor. I stuck it right on the wheel bearing to make sure everything fit, this inner diameter. I checked this back set against the other rotor, and then I stuck it on a look to make sure it seemed to fit decent. And everything looks like it fits right, so it's got to be the right rotor. So we're going to go there. Now, these rotors come with a glue or what you call it, just a protective coating on it. And I like to get those off of there. I just use brake clean. A lot of manuals say use soap and water. Don't use brake clean. Whatever. I use brake clean. It gets it off better. Brake clean, carb clean, whatever you have. Soap and water if you don't have those. But better living through chemistry, right? It takes it off well. And you have a nice surface to start with. No sticky spots or stuff like that to cause you a ruckus in the beginning and have you question your expertise. Which, it's all good. You want to make sure you do a good job. Alright, let's, wow, that was that crooked the whole time, huh? Interesting. Let's, get this caliper bracket cleaned up. I'm going to do that on the bench, so I clear a little area. Alright, here on the bench, we got our caliper bracket. Basically, I'm just going to clean up these 2 pads here. And this is really clean. I mean, as far as rust goes, I don't see hardly any rust. So, I've seen these things so caked with rust that you can barely even
see through it. But this one is very clean. So just give a little bit of a scrape in there, make sure it's down to decent metal. And that's pretty good. Pretty shiny metal. The shim here is decently clean. I think what I'll do is, well, actually I'll maybe run that a little bit. See what I can do, just scrape it. The brake pads I got a little bit cheaper side. They didn't come with these. A lot of times the high-end brake pads will give you a set, will give you some of these. Jeez. You know what? Why am I working so hard when I could stick this thing on here where it's going to hold it in place nicely? Then wire brush it off. There we go. I should probably be wearing my safety glasses for this, but since you can't see me in the camera, you don't know if I am or not, so I'm good to go, right? Yeah. Another trouble area we get, again, as I mentioned before, is these pins. These are sliding very nicely. So I'm not even going to pull them apart and risk damaging this boot. But what you would do basically is, if they were messed up, pull them out, clean the pin, clean inside the hole, and then you would use a brake lube, something similar to Sil Glide. This is Napa's version, Sil Glide. Also would want to use that Sil Glide on any surfaces that the brake pads come in contact with metal, except a good friend of mine, he's a Chrysler mechanic for years and years, said that if you have these stainless steel shims, do not use the Sil Glide on them. For some reason it builds up underneath it and it can stop the pads from sliding on it. So I've been doing it that way, and it seems to work out pretty nicely on anything that's stainless steel. If you're just metal, steel on steel like these, just if it was this without the shims, and didn't have shims, wasn't set up that way from the factory, then the Sil Glide will help lube that, help it move. And the main thing, which is kind of funny out there, but people, when they step on the pedal, they want their brakes to work, but they don't really think about the mechanics of them working or how they work or anything like that. And most people don't really care. They want to get in, turn the key, and the vehicle takes off, and you step on the brake and it stops. But what I had to think about as a mechanic for all the years I've been a mechanic is the things that the people complain about, which is squeaks and rattles and any kind of noise or anything that bothers you or that's uncomfortable. Those are the things that people care about in their cars. So that Sil Glide really helps with those squeaks and rattles and stuff like that, so that they don't jump in their car and the next day or a week later or a month later, how come I have a rattle? How come I have a squeak? How come I have this? How come I have that? And that happens often when people do their own brakes and haven't researched proper procedure. Simple things like cleaning underneath the shims. The extra 5 minutes it takes, 10 minutes it takes to clean that rust off, to give yourself a better surface, is going to is going to add up to, you know, miles and miles of quiet braking and miles of less headache. And especially say you're not doing it for just yourself, you know, you're doing it for yourself, your wife, your kids, or I guess even a little bit worse, you're doing it for your relatives or something like that. Oh, I know how to do I know how to do brakes. I can do your brakes for you. So you do a great job on the brakes, on everything except cleaning that rust out of there maybe underneath that shim. And a couple weeks later, your relatives is like, how come my brakes are squeaking? Simple thing, 5-10 minutes could have saved you aggravation of, you know, annoyed relatives, whatnot. All right, so that's the cleaned up shim. We have a cleaned up rotor. We have pads that are sprayed up with our disc brake quiet. So we need to take it all and reassemble it. Okay, on this particular brake style setup where the brake bracket, the caliper bracket, comes off of the vehicle this way, and the pads aren't integrated into the caliper, I like to put the pads into the brake bracket and then install this as a unit over the rotor. It kind of helps me hold everything in place. And again, I'm not going to sill glide these shims. I'm going to leave them dry. So basically I slide those in there. They tend to fight sometimes, but if I get them to stay nice. Then out there at the truck, you slide the caliper in. You slide the rotor on, and slide this bracket on. Slide the caliper over it. Bolt the bracket up. Slide the caliper over it. Bolt the caliper up, and you're good to go. So I'm going to move everything out there and reconvene at the truck. All right, back out of the truck. Rotor's going to go on. Enough. Now, Steven's tech tip of the day, or another tech tip, I guess. Put a couple of lug nuts on here. I'm going to run a little easier, but we'll just snug them up. Okay, just to hold it in place. That way, you're not fighting everything, falling sideways when you're trying to slide the bracket on, hold the bracket in place. You only got two arms. Little tips you need working on your own. Helps make the job go by a lot easier. Okay, bracket loaded up with the pads. That worked out well, right? Slipped right off, but that's okay. Slide it in. Slide it in place. Get our bolt started. And using the same socket. We did already. Screw this tight. Don't have to go crazy. You want it tight, but you don't want it like gorilla tight, Hercules tight. Yeah, there goes the pad. Alright, saved it. Didn't hurt off. Alright. Okay. Rotor's in place. Caliper bracket and pads are in place. Caliper comes up. Sits onto the pins. The pins are, these ones have flats on them. cut right on the edge of the caliper there. The bolts. Switch out our tools. Snug, so they don't break off. Remember to pull off the lug nut, or you're going to drive yourself insane when you go to put your wheel on and it won't go, and you're battling to figure out why it won't go. All right, wheel goes back on. We go to the other side. I'm sure you all know how to put the wheel back on, so I'm not going to show that. I'm not going to show the other side. All you do is wash, rinse, repeat. You saw the wash and rinse, then you do the repeat. It's just that simple. A few little tips can help you do brakes safely. That's my biggest concern. I've seen a lot of cars come in to a lot of shops and they weren't safe. I mean, literally weren't safe, and they were carrying kids around. And I hear a lot of people talking about, oh, I can do my brakes, I can do my brakes. People always talk about doing their brakes. It's like the number one system for safety on your vehicle, your brakes. If you can't stop, you're gonna die. But people think they can do their brakes, and they get messed up a lot because, well, now we have YouTube, Google, and all that stuff. People can look it over, and if you think you have the mechanical ability, that's fine. Risking your own life, but you're risking other people's lives too, so you got to take that into account. Yes, it's simple to do, but there's little tricks that can make it more safe. So I hope I covered a couple of those, and I will catch you out in a little bit after I finish the other side, and just a couple little more things about under the hood after we get done. Okay, here we are back under the hood. I pumped up the brakes. I usually pump them up with the truck off first. I don't know why, just maybe because it's always how it was on the hoist. But then I fired it up, pumped them up. I go forward and back, whatnot, just to make sure everything feels good, and everything feels really good. Master cylinder here. I know it's going to be low. Nothing to see in there. I can't really even see it. So, just going to top up. Of course. Why would it? Why would the stupid cap stay where it's supposed to be? All those crazy things that always happen. Alright. Just going to bring this up to the full. Ooh, she's really low. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, can kind of see the shadow of the full line on the side, but either way, that's good. Alright, well, that's it for this bugger. I just got a call from the auto store, and the floor resistor's in, so I'm going to run up there. I'm not going to film putting it back in. You saw it was 2 screws and a connector, so no big deal. Maybe I'll turn it on when I get it done, just to show that it works, and hopefully that's what it is, and it does work. So thanks for coming along on this, and I'll talk at you when I get that resistor back in, and we'll close it all out then. So thanks much. Alright, I'm back. There's my box. Here's the big unboxing. Yeah, okay. What else? Instructions. I've done that a lot of times. I don't need to read those instructions. Even though I do say I usually read the instructions. It'll be alright. Alright. Tape's giving me a hard time here. It'll pause. Alright, side by side. They changed it up a little. Plug looks the same, which is the important part. Looks like it should fit right in the hole, which is good. But they did this ceramic coating wrap. Maybe that's like a heat sink. Pull all the heat off of that stuff and maybe help the pins. I don't know. As long as it lasts 5 more years or so. Maybe, I don't even know if we'll keep this that long, but we'll be good to go. Alright, I'm going to throw it in and test it out. See what happens. I'll be back. Okay. I don't know if camera audio is picking that up. Might on the second and third. We now have 4 speeds instead of just high. Yay! That's gonna be happy. Alright, gang. Thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope maybe I said something during this little, I don't know, repair, whatever you want to call it, tutorial possibly, I don't know. Hopefully got something out of it, maybe a little tip or trick if you want to do your own work. I find that 99% of automotive repair, home repair, all of that stuff is really simple, but some of it isn't easy. And the tips and tricks that you can pick up through YouTube, Google, other professionals in the industry, people that have done it for a long time, stuff like that, they're invaluable, and that's what helps you get through the job easier with a heck of a lot of less frustration. But as you can see, brakes are a simple system. If you know it, they're not hard to do. There's some tricks in there that could be stumbling blocks, but once you figure those things out, they're really a very simple system. Not really hard at all. So, you know, get out there and do some of your own stuff. Save some money on that stuff. Learn as you go. It's all great. I mean, I love doing my own stuff. Got two little projects knocked out already today. That means I'm 2 steps closer to being better than I was yesterday, and that's all we can hope for, right? Just do a little bit every day. Try to do something to make the world a better place if we can. So my little world is a better place now. Tracey probably won't die when she's driving her truck, and that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. So, you know, and she'll be comfortable, get the right temperature with the right amount of air flowing. So that's another good thing. So again, thank you very much for watching. Love you all out there. If you got anything out this, please hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. I'm going to try and put more stuff up. Leave a comment. Maybe you saw something that you didn't like that I did. Leave me a comment. Let me know. We'll talk about it. I probably won't ignore it. But thank you very much again. Until next time. Have a great day.